I'm literally here to do things through my own expression of self, to be a leader in that way, to show others that, hey, it's also important for you to be you. That if you do it like everyone else, then you're not being your full self. And that's my gift that I hold in my energy, in my chart. I can be that example of creativity, of self-love, of self-expression, of moving from your deepest knowing and desires and convictions. Those are my gifts.
Welcome to the Firestarter Podcast. I'm Willa Kammerer. Today we're talking about understanding your human design so that you can unlock alignment in your business, life, and long-term wealth building. And we're having this conversation with Hannah Chapman, and I'm just so excited to have this conversation. First, we were going to have a more traditional conversation around finances as an entrepreneur. But when I learned more about the very unique way that you approach that in your practice with clients, I just wanted to go deeper and really learn more about your methodology and really how you came to bring this into your work with clients as well. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Willa, for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm so passionate about helping people to really create that peaceful and regulated relationship with money so that they can then build the long-term structures and processes that are going to help them build that wealth long-term. But it's also predicated upon knowing yourself and having a good relationship with what your gifts are, where your true alignment lies to your genius. And we can really unlock a lot of that by understanding your human design and your Gene Keys profile.
I love that. So I know that there's a story behind and I don't know what that story is, but I really want to hear it because I don't think you just land at, being a financial advisor, which can be very cookie cutter it often is very cookie cutter, but I would love to hear your own journey of how you came to incorporate human design into your work.
Yeah. So I have been in the financial industry for almost 20 years. I'm a certified financial planner, a few other designations, all the alphabet soup behind my name. And I've worked really hard in that industry to, be a really wonderful financial planner, a good support for my clients. And over time, the first, 14 years that I've been in this industry, I was with a traditional firm and had to do things the traditional way. And as I was really leaning into building my own business, once I spent a lot of time doing the financial planning work, working directly with clients, but I wasn't the advisor on the statement. And so when I became the advisor, it really started to show up that I don't operate the same way as, the traditional, I'm going to say guys in finance do, because literally that was everyone in my practice. I was the only woman. I was the youngest by about 10 years, even though I was in my 30s, and had been in the industry already for a good, almost 14 years at that point. And still things weren't working the way that it worked for them. And I was feeling more and more it wasn't it didn't come to the point where I thought there was something wrong with me, but it came to the point where I realized that they couldn't see the full me, the full measure of my worth, of my value. And I realized that if I wanted to build a practice that actually felt good and not incredibly grinding and stressful and where I had to be on, depression and anxiety medication all the time, right? I was it's not going to be here. It's not going to be with these people. And so when I launched out in 2021, I started X Squared Wealth Planning along with my partner, Juncture Wealth Strategies. And that was when I started, building on my own terms. And in the very 2 months after I launched, I discovered human design. So I would say I had a relationship with myself enough to know that they weren't seeing the real me. I didn't fully know the real me yet either, but I knew what they were telling me I couldn't do was not right. And I had that knowing that okay, you got to go. You have to go out on your own. You have to, spread your wings in this way. And when I discovered my human design it was March of 2021, I was just literally crying, tears of recognition about seeing myself basically laid out and spelled out to me on a page, and seeing myself in the ways that like, hey, you're different from the people around you, and here's why, and here's how beautiful and unique and special that is. And what's so beautiful about human design is that it allows you to see your true self and your not self. Mm-hmm. And the not self is what we've been conditioned to be. It's like the mask and the armor that we've been told that we're supposed to have on, the way that we're supposed to move through the world, the way that we are supposed to build a business, or supposed to, all the shoulds that we really take on and then believe. And then as we try to be that thing that we're not, it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. So when I found out, so I'm a 6/2 sacral authority manifesting generator, which means I have just a huge amount of energy, like true life force energy, and it connects directly to my throat and up through my self center. If you're looking at a human design chart, it's that diamond in the middle. I have a lot of energy going through my own love for self and my own self-acceptance and my own creative expression in life. And the more I got to know me through that process, the more I was like, of course I couldn't do it their way. I'm literally here to do things through my own expression of self, to be a leader in that way, to show others that, hey, it's also important for you to be you. That if you do it like everyone else, then you're not being your full self. And that's my gift that I hold in my energy, in my chart. I can be that example of creativity, of self-love, of self-expression, of moving from your deepest knowing and desires and convictions. Those are my gifts. So all the things that were not me, right? Trying to prove my value, prove my worth, be I can't even think of something, but like be the most technical person in the room. Like all of that was me trying to prove what I'm not, rather than getting to be who I am. And so when I started to really move in that direction and accept that about myself, I mean, the other part of what I was doing was, what is my husband's design? What about my kids? Like starting to then understand, oh, it's not just about me. It's also about how we connect with others, and how how my energy affects you, how your energy affects me, and what is that interplay in between. And so from that point, once I was, I spent a good couple of years really diving in on me and understanding myself and my husband and my kids. And then I started dabbling with clients who I knew were also super heart-centered, who would be open to it. I mean, you have to put in your birth date, time, and place, right? So some people are like, I don't know about that. I'm like, well, if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not here to prove to anyone anything. If you want to pick it up and look at it and see if it's for you, then let's go. And I had so many clients who had the exact same reaction. Again, just literal tears of recognition of, yeah, that's me. And I've known that. I've always known that that's me. So how do I move through the world in that way? And so over those first couple of years, as I was really studying and digging in and kind of like doing this quietly behind the scenes with clients, I was building the proof, that this is so important to building long-term alignment, long-term, a business that actually feels good to run, and that you get to be you in the process. And from the financial side, it gets you into the place where you're making money in a way that's aligned with you. You're not, doing things everyone else's way to make $1 that then feels bad, that you're not happy with what you're creating. And that's then what leads to being able to pay yourself appropriately, being able to pay your employees, being able to move that money out into, diversified places so you can have your money working for you instead of always working for that, time, trading your time for money. It all flows through that. And it's just a really beautiful place to start from. So as I was doing that, as I was building, the big switch came in 2023 when I was like, I felt the strongest conviction that I was not sharing all of me because I was keeping it real under the covers. Because like you said, most financial advisors are very straight-laced, very, for lack of a better term, boring. Like, it's like, here's the information, this is what we do. And I was a little bit afraid that people would think I was crazy, like, what is this? Or that my current clients would leave, or that, all of the fear that came up around making this big transition. But I had to come back to, hey, it's literally in my design that I am here to do this the way that is true for me, and to share that and to be a leader in that regard. And since then, I can't tell you how many advisors I've had that have contacted me that are like, I want to know how you're doing this. And I thought I had a unique idea to combine human design and financial planning, and here you are doing it already. I was like, well, there's room for more than me. I'm not the only one that needs to do this.
Well, I see a training program in your future.
I know, right?
I love that. And, it's very on brand for Firestarter because, we're always encouraging our clients there's this pressure and it's very noisy out there to niche down and to just be one thing. And it feels safer to be that, vanilla version that feels like, the safe standard version, but that's not where our power comes. And, you stepping closer towards your truth and really understanding yourself on that deeper level and where this comes from at the most foundational level. It's just, leading by example. But I personally truly believe in the work that we do at Firestarter with our clients is really helping get to that core category of one, your X factor, those intersections, those, things that make you absolutely uniquely you. So I'm so glad that you went on that journey yourself and are now sharing it with all those that you work with. And, I went down a human design rabbit hole myself last night. And, for our listeners who are less familiar with human design, can you share a little bit, just what is it? And there are so many personality quizzes out there used in personal settings, professional settings. Is this different? How is this different? Is this just one of those? And can you talk a little bit about that? Just foundational.
Yes. Yeah. And in like the most brief way that I can describe it, human design is based on your birth date, time, and place. So it is a system that has this astrological natal chart as part of its core piece. But it's a synthesis of quite a few different traditions. And that's what makes it really unique. It brings in, so it has the astrological natal chart. It also brings in the Chinese Tao Te Ching or I Ching. And then it includes the Hindu chakra system. So you've got your crown down to your root, right? The chakras, that many people are familiar with that. And then it also combines the Kabbalistic tree of life. So that's the gates and channels that connect those chakras. And so when you look at the chart, you can Google it. You can even go to one of my websites, expansiveceo.com, and pull your chart, and you'll see it looks like a torso with a head, like a disembodied torso. And it has all these different centers through it. It'll have different colors, and some are white and some are colored, little boxes around the side. And so it can look like a lot. Visually, you're like, this is a lot.
Yes, I did it last night. I was like, this is a lot. So I'm texting it to you now.
Yes. And what's beautiful about that is that there is so much nuance. You can dive so deep with it. And you can also take some of the high keynotes and make a difference in your life, even just with that. Even if you don't go, spend 3 or 4 or 5 years deeply studying the system, you can still get to know yourself in some very important key ways. And that's going to make a difference in your life. So understanding your type, for example, I'm a manifesting generator. You're a pure generator. Those are a little different. We don't have to talk about that, but they're generator types. Mm-hmm. You could be a projector or a manifestor or a reflector. Those are the other types. Your profile lines. So there are 2 numbers. I'm a 6-2. You're a 5-2. Those are very different in how they experience the world and how the world projects upon them. And so that's another big piece of like, if you understand how your profile works in the world, that can be a big unlock. The other piece is your authority. And when we come to, especially with X Squared, with Expansive CEO, a big piece of what we talk about is your authority. That's how you make your most aligned decisions. So I'm a sacral authority. My authority comes from my deepest gut knowing. yes or no. That's the same for you. It's like when you move from that true hell yes in your gut, that is where you know you're making an aligned decision. If you are feeling like no, and you're like kind of like leaning back, or you feel like a gut, like you're like sticking into your chair,
not that into it.
No, but you say yes anyway, that's where the misalignment happens. And that understanding that for me was a huge unlock. The other most common, it's actually more than 50% of people are emotional authority. So if you pull your chart, it's good, like 58% chance that's you. You have to take your time. You have to go through what's called an emotional wave to make your best decisions. So when, I'll give an example for a client who, before she met me, is an emotional authority, but would make very quick decisions. And one, she said, she's like, oh yeah, I did that once with a truck. I was like, oh, tell me more. She's like, yep. I was like, one day I was like, I feel like I want to go look at cars. So she goes to a car dealership. She sees this truck. Within a matter of hours, she said yes to buy this big pickup truck for her husband. She thinks it's a great idea. And as she's driving off the lot, she was like, I don't know if that was a good decision. And come to find, like all of the things that go along with that, you can, guess, like didn't really think about the financial implications, didn't really think about the monthly payment, and so for some people who are like, yeah, obviously that, but if you don't know that that's the way that you're meant to make decisions, what she had done was she got all the excitement that was called the high side of the wave, but she didn't then go through the low side of the wave, which was what are the concerns? It can feel like a pros and cons list. What are the cons? Let's really actually talk about the cons until you come back to where you're no longer feeling an emotional charge about the decision, and you can make a neutral decision. Yeah. So for a lot of people with that emotional authority, if someone's, especially, let's talk entrepreneurs, right? Because we get pitched things all the time. If you go on LinkedIn, people are trying to sell you things literally in the DMs constantly. Say you get on a sales call and someone is trying to close you in the sales call. They're like, well, they like don't want you to get off because they want to drive to a conclusion, and they want that conclusion to be yes. If you're not super in tune with the fact that that is not correct for you as an emotional authority, you need to say, you know what, this is great. I need to go sleep on it. And that's my boundary. And if you keep pushing, it's a no. Like that's one of the ways that we coach people to really understand their energy so that they can be so confident about their decisions because they know that they came from a place of alignment. And in that respect, it can be that simple. Like if that's the thing that you needed to know, and now you're like moving with your authority 90% of the time, your life is going to change for sure.
I love that. Yeah. It seems like, even just like you said, that simple unlock. And I could see for us how it doesn't mean we have to say yes on the spot or no on the spot. We could also say, hey, let's pause on this, but it's how did I feel in the moment? Right. Yes. And just really tuning in. How am I feeling? Is this a full body yes? Is this a full body no? And just, what you shared in your own experience, it sounds like you were living in that place of, trying to fit in the square peg in the round hole. And I've done that myself in other settings. And when it isn't fully aligned, you can see why the things aren't working and flowing. And, when you step back into that place of alignment where it does feel physically more like a yes, things just work better.
Yeah. And that's, also to say that as I was discovering myself, knowing that I'm a sacral authority, well, my husband is an emotional authority, and we have been together for almost 25 years. We've been together for a really long time. And so I realized in that moment, that was another one of those moments of recognition of, oh, like when he's like, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Did you think about 14 other things? He's not trying to burst my bubble. He's not trying to hurt me or make me feel bad. It's that's how his authority works. But on the flip side, when I know from my gut that something is true, he also can honor that, and he can understand that, hey, this is really important for her. I don't 100% logically understand it, but she knows. And so we can trust that. Right. So if it depends on what the situation is, but we've learned how to complement each other rather than feel hurt and confused by each other all the time, because we have this very fundamental difference in our designs, and they can be such a beautiful they can be a beautiful complement to each other because his questions can then help refine that yes or no. So that sacral, if you feel that really strong yes in the moment, but it is something that like, you know what, I do need to talk to my spouse about this, or I do need to talk to my business partner before I make that decision. You can take that imprint, know that there were parts of that felt really strong, but there maybe someone else's emotional authority can help you refine that. They can go back and get more questions answered, right? It's how can we work together better versus how do we see each other as wrong, right? We're not wrong. It's just that we're different. And to the other point that you mentioned, that it's really about letting go of what you're not. And when I was with the other firm, one thing I really started to see clearly towards the end was how much I was masking. It's like, okay, where does the mask have to sit to go into this room? And I was really good at it. I was really good at being a chameleon and like, oh, sometimes it has to be here. Oh, well, just what part do we have to cover to fit in? And when I realized that I just didn't want to put the mask on anymore. It was really about shedding the armor, shedding the mask, shedding everything that I'm not, so that I can just be me without having to perform for anyone else.
Well, that mirrors exactly my story of realizing I needed to leave my marriage so that I didn't have to wear that mask because it's exhausting and, we're not able to live in our highest alignment in the path we're meant to live, if we are wearing that mask. So such important work you're doing, and thank you for bringing it to our Firestarter audience. Where can our listeners go and learn more about you? And I know you have that tool available on your website. I did it last night and it's so fast, so easy, as long as you know the place you were born and what time you were born.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share with our listeners where they can find you. Yeah.
So they can find me a couple of places. One place to find everything is at hannahrchapman.com. It's my full name. It's my own branded website that will take you to both. The full ecosystem is Expansive CEO and X Squared Wealth Planning. But if you want to pull your human design chart, that's at expansiveceo.com. You put in your birth date, time, and place. As long as you know the place you were born, that's the important part. If you don't know the exact time, you can put in noon. And you can also test a little bit if you're like born in the morning, born at night. It could change if you were born at 1 a.m. versus 11 p.m. But noon should get you pretty close to what you are in case you don't have that, call your mom. When was I born? If you have the access to be able to do that. Other than that, we have podcasts. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on all the socials. And I love to talk with people about any questions they have about human design or finances, how they come together. It's my jam.
Yes. Well, Hannah is your woman for financial planning as well, in a very aligned way. So thanks so much for being here. And all of her links will be on our show notes at thefirestarterpodcast.com. And we at Firestarter would love you to join our world and our community. You can learn more about our platform, Firestarter Funnels, at firestarterfunnels.com. And we have an extra special for our podcast listeners. You can sign up and get on our platform for 50% off your first 3 months with the code podcast. So we hope you will join us there. And thanks so much for tuning in for this episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, my YouTube channel, Willa Kammerer, and I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn at Willa Kammerer. So thanks so much for tuning in. We look forward to the next conversation.